My name is Leslie Miller, and I am your Olympic Peninsula PTAC, which is part of Washington PTAC. Washington PTAC is proud to host this Washington State DES JOC virtual event. At last count, we had 6 panelists and 54 participants scheduled to join us today, so we have a very large group. Before we get started, I'd like to thank Washington Department of Enterprise Services and our panelists for making it possible to prevent this event. A quick overview of our panelists today include the following agencies: Washington State Department of Enterprise Services, represented by Charles Wilson; Centennial Contractors with John Erminshaw; Forma Construction with Eric Lindstrom; Sabre Contractors with Ginger Gigax, John Pilata, and Peggy Togioka. Burton Construction will join us a little bit later, and that will be by Jim Anderson. I also want to introduce you to my Washington PTAC colleagues, Marnie Tyson from Green River College and Alicia Rodell from Greater Spokane Incorporated. So let's get to work. Our first speaker will be Charles Wilson from Washington State Department of Enterprise Services. Charles is the Public Works Business Diversity Program Manager in the Facility Professional Services Division. So, Charles, take it away.
Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. Again, I want to thank everybody for attending this JOC outreach event, and I hope everyone gets something out of it. Lisa, you go ahead and move the slide up. We'll start with JOC itself, and legislatively, about 2015 or so, the Senate and Senate Bill 5203 increased the total value of JOC work that was authorized. So initially, I believe it was $4 million per contract, and you could not have more than 3. But there was a special dispensation for DES to allow us to have 6 JOC contracts at $6 million each. So, and I believe currently they have expanded that authorization to $6 million, but we're the only ones that have 6 contracts. Okay, next. JOC. Well, why is JOC important? Well, JOC has worked really well for us. One, because administratively it's really effective. JOC allows us to perform a work order without having to go through the long advertisement and selection process. We can get work done immediately. I've seen a project that was proposed on Monday, and we were signing paperwork by the end of the week. So that it really works well for us. The JOC alternative contract is different because the JOC contractor can only self-perform 10% of the work. They must subcontract out 90% of the work. Okay. They work on work orders, so it's not what you see with design bid build, where you're going to see an RFP and an individual contract comes out. They utilize work orders. Those work orders cannot exceed $500,000. That's new. Previously, it was $350,000, but it was recently expanded to $500,000. Next slide. Okay, as I alluded to earlier, we have 6 contracts, and they are broken out in regions. Okay, and each contract is for $6 million per year, 2-year contract, and I may talk about this a little later as well, with a option for a 3rd year. Next slide, please. Our Public Works project manager is the person that's responsible for the jock work orders for the various client agencies. DES is a little unique because we manage projects for other agencies. Virtually every other agency in the state, sans about 6. And so we have project managers that are assigned to those agencies, and thus they know the ins and outs and everything that are going on with the various work orders for that agency. So if there's any questions or any concerns about that jock work order, the project manager is the person to talk to. And if you go on our website, you can see a list of those project managers and who they're assigned to. Next slide, please. Okay, again, 6 regions. Let's go to the next slide. So in the Western region, Forma is our contractor. There's their information, and I'm sure they'll give you more of that when their turn comes up. But their contract is started in February of this year, and it runs through February of 22. Next slide. The Northwest region is Centennial, and their effective date was 10/2 of 20 through 10/2 of 22. So they're active as well on the new contract. Next slide, please. Eastern, our contractor is Burton Construction. Their contract was effective 9/20/2020, and it will run through 9/30/22. Next slide, please. Southwest region is Sabre Contractors, effective 10/8/2020 through 10/8/22. Next slide, please. Then we have 2 statewide contracts. Burton, I'm sorry. Someone say something? Oh, okay. Well, Burton has 1 statewide contract, right? That's from 12/3/2019 to 12/3/2021. So that one is actually going to be coming up pretty soon. And actually, I think we already awarded that. It just probably hasn't been executed yet. Next slide, please. And then the second statewide is Centennial Contractors, effective 4/30/2020 through 4/30/22. So as you can see, most all of these contracts are new. So these will be the folks that'll be performing for us for virtually the next 3 years. Next slide, please. Okay, wanted to talk a little bit about our small works roster, just very quickly. We want to encourage contractors to be listed on our small works roster. I think the next slide will show you the address where you can, oh, excuse me. A little bit about the small works roster. It's used for projects under 350,000. Makes it easier for contractors to compete for public works projects if you want to prime the job. And it helps reduce the cost of bidding small projects because we don't have a full-blown ad period for this either. Next slide, please. Contractors apply to be placed on a roster, and then organizations use a roster to generate a list of contractors based on the contractor type of work, and project location. Next slide, please. The contractors on the list will receive instructions, usually by email, on how to obtain project documents. Um, all interested contractors may respond. Next slide. So here is, if you're looking to get on our Small Works roster, just go online and put in the Small Works roster application, and it'll come up and you can fill that application out online. We accept those applications throughout the year. So we encourage folks, particularly those small businesses, to apply for the Small Works roster. Okay. And then here's my contact information if you need anything else from me or my team. And I'm open for questions.
Do we have any questions for Charles Marnie?
Or you can keep them for the end of the event.
Yes, I have a question. If I've already signed up for the Small Works roster, do I have to repeat it again for the new upcoming year, or am I knocked off at any time, or how does that work?
No, ma'am, you're still on the roster.
Okay.
But I'm glad you asked that question, because one thing that I haven't mentioned today is the WEBS registration. And WEBS runs through DES. And I would encourage everybody to go online and register for WEBS. Now, with WEBS, if you don't maintain your registration, which means that you've got to go in and check on it every so often, you will be scrubbed.
Oh, okay.
So if you are registered in WEBS, you know, just go in and check for opportunities or whatever, and make sure your information is correct, and you'll stay on that roster. If not, if they see no activity for a long period of time, they will scrub you off the WEBS registration.
Okay.
So, Charles, there is a question in the chat that wants to know, how do we determine whether we are on the list or not? Can we look that up somewhere? And that is from Kelsey Bedient.
The question is, are you on the list for Small Works roster or WEBS?
The Small Works roster. I'm kind of here on behalf of my husband's company, and I'm not sure if he's applied before, so I'm just wondering if I could look that up.
Yeah, it should be on our website. There should be a list. And if you don't see that, just contact me and I can let you know.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you both. Those are excellent questions. So now I'd like to take a moment to introduce you to Centennial, who's going to be our next speaker today. And the gentleman speaking today is going to be John Emershaw. Welcome, John.
Thank you very much. Yes, I'm John Emershaw. I am our general manager for our Seattle operations here in Washington. And go ahead and scroll through. Give you a little history of Centennial. They're based out of Northern Virginia, and they've been doing job order contracting here in Washington State for about 22 years and nationwide since '99. We've got probably 22 offices across the country, so we're a national firm. We're not in every state, and I think we like it like that, but so they started basically performing work for the Department of Defense. And since then, because of some of the mandates that Congress has put on large businesses performing federal work, more goes to set aside. We've started branching out, and we perform jobs for municipalities, K through 12, higher education, and healthcare. And we have a small pool of some private firms, but it's very limited. I mean, 90%, if not a little higher, we do is either state or federal work. And most of it's our framework, which is job order contracting. So a little bit more about me. I've worked for Centennial for the past 25 years. Well, in April, it'll be 25, and been doing job order contracting for 30 years. I actually started with them in Northeast California over by Susanville. I don't know if anybody knows where that is, in the middle of nowhere. And so since then, though, I've moved. I think this is my 6th relocation with them. And I've overseen contracts doing federal and non-federal in Virginia, New Mexico, Texas, Washington, and some work in Arizona. And currently, since February, I moved right up here just as the pandemic was rolling in to Seattle. So back to the West Coast. Next slide, please. So currently, these are some of the contracts we hold, job order contracts. We got Port of Seattle, 2 for the Port of Seattle, 1 for the City of Bellevue, 1 for the University of Washington, and then the 2 for DES, as Charles indicated. The newest one being up here in the Northwest. In addition to these, we do perform larger hard bid projects, and we generally, with our same framework customers and same subcontractor base, we utilize. So the majority of all the projects that I oversee are right in the Seattle area. And, we're looking for commonly used subcontractors for all typical disciplines. So we vet and utilize anybody as long as they meet our qualifications. And our projects generally range from 25,000 to 400,000 in the jock arena, up to 500, as Charles indicated as well. But they kind of like to keep that threshold down just in case of any unforeseens come up and they have to issue a change order. So we kind of try keep it between 25 and 400. Currently, we utilize Procore for all of our projects, and Building Connected is what we utilize for solicitations. So, and those are easy. I mean, we send the subcontractors links for Procore. I mean, these are both no cost to anybody. We hold the brunt of that. And so, yeah, we solicit bid invitations on Building Connected, and we'll send out bid packages and plans and stuff on Building Connected, or we just email invites. Next slide, please. The main things we require, though, and it's a trickle down basically from our state customers, is certified payrolls. You got to be in good standing with L&I, certificates of insurance. You got to have a DUNS number. For larger subcontracts, we do include bonding and for hazardous waste and scopes, and we require accident prevention plans. But we can help with all of that too. We can help guide people and steer them around the arena of all these requirements. So first thing you would do is we contact our office, and I give that contact information, and we would issue you a subcontractor qualification form. And then once you return that back to us, we follow up with some additional onboarding paperwork, and you return that back to our local office, and that gets you on our bidders list. Once it's been completed, we'll reach out for quotes based on our project load and any disciplines we need. And once you're selected for a project, then we'll bring you in, or we've been doing it on Teams lately. We do a new subcontractor orientation. It's further outlining our requirements and our procedures. Talk about safety and accident or AHAs and that kind of stuff, what you need to be aware of actually on the project site, as well as talk about, how you submit payment applications and that kind of stuff. Next, please. Here I just added a sample. It's this slide and the next one of our qualification form. You can take a look. I mean, the big thing is a DUNS number, and what you have is a NICS code, and are you your business status, because we have to meet goals with all of our clients. So we're always looking for the WIMBY firms. Next slide, please. And of course, here's a sample of our certificate of insurance. Some of those dollar values can change depending on the client. Like I said, it's trickle down from what they're requiring us to provide. And that's pretty easy. So these 4 pages we'll send out for a qualification form. You fill that out, and then we would re-up with you and follow up with any more onboarding paperwork you might need. Next, please. So here's how I would have you reach out to either Andrea or Jessica. They're here in my office here in Seattle, and just reach out to them and they would send you a subcontractor qualification packet. And there's the phone number. Please write it down, and we're looking forward to meeting some new people and building some long-lasting relationships. Any questions for me now, or want to hold it, or just make sure you got that number down and start burning up the phone?
Is there an email available for them, or is phone the best?
Probably phone's the best. There is email addresses, but probably I would initiate the call with a phone, or initiate the process with a phone call.
So John, this is Leslie. We had a couple questions in the chat. One was from Mary Borrero, and she wanted to know if the qualification, well, if to pre-qualify with the GC, she wanted to know, if there's a web page you may email directly, or how to get qualified. Anyway, I responded to her that the qualification form that you had shown them it should help with that answer. But realistically, in closing, we had James Baldwin had a question, and he was hoping for Santa to deliver the information. But I think the closing slide that you have with Andrea and Jessica's information on there should give them the answers that they need.
That's right. I mean, that's going to start the process right there. Call them up, tell them who you are, and just introduce yourself and tell them you're looking for a qualification form for a new subcontract vendor, and they will get your email address and send you one right out. And then if you have any questions when you're filling it out, feel free to pick up the phone and call them, or they're going to send it via email. And then I mean, you can email them back and say, hey, I'm confused, because there's quite a little bit if you're not used to it on there.
So John, we have a quick question from Rhonda Tilford. She wants to know if Centennial is open to dealing with new companies.
Yes, we're always, so if they're a brand new firm, absolutely. We have several things we can put in place for risk management between us. If they don't have a good credit, we can do joint checks, or, I mean, absolutely. If they're a new company, as long as they have to show they have workers' comp, and then they have the insurance. Those are the 2 big things. And then make sure that they're signed up with L&I and they're in good standing with L&I. Those are key.
Thanks, John.
We have 2 questions in the Q&A, well, a couple questions in Q&A now. Roxanne Bradshaw asks, is there upfront funding available? Roxanne, do you want to unmute and clarify your question? Upfront funding for...
There is no upfront funding. So, we basically do contract management, and we subcontract it out. But what we do is we have our billing cycles on 30 days, and that's generally what it is with our customer. And a lot of times we'll pay before we're paid, depending on how you're performing. So if you're performing very well, we can turn around a check in a couple of weeks, but that's just contingent on a lot of things, right? So, but we're not going to say, hey, here's the money for your contract. Hopefully you'll get it done on time. So Yeah, I mean, there's no upfront funding as far as that goes, but we can turn around payroll quite quickly.
And then Laureline has two questions. One is, how is Centennial been doing with their MWBE goals? And are the MWBEs able to fulfill the qualifications needed of insurance? Yeah.
We've been doing fair on some contracts. We just had a City of Seattle contract. We were doing about 60%. So we're doing pretty good on our goals, but it's not to say that, you know, we couldn't do better on some contracts. And yes, they're able to meet the requirements. I mean, like I said, the big one is got to have the workers' comp, got to pay it up quarterly, be in good standing with L&I, and then have your certificate of insurance on board and perform. Right, that's the key.
So to clarify, the 60%, was that 60% of your goals, or you had 60% MWBE participation?
That was our participation, and that was our goals.
Okay.
We were at 59, but right, our goal was 60. What are you gonna do? And that was a hard goal, but we were on top of it. You know.
So, John, this is Leslie again.
Yes.
Rhonda Tilford wanted to know if you accept self-certification of MWBE, or does it have to come from a third party at the state level? And I would assume that that would be from OMWBE themselves.
That is correct. And it just depends on so some of our customers allow self-certification, like our University of Washington, they'll allow that. But like DES does not allow that. You have to be certified through the state. Correct me if I'm wrong, Charles?
That's correct for the MWs. There is a self-certifying place with Webs for small businesses.
Okay.
So small businesses can self-certify in Webs. But if you want credit for minority participation, women's participation, and veterans participation, you have to be certified with OMWBE and with the Veterans Administration.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And as well as our Port of Seattle contracts, I believe they want state certification as well. But our University of Washington, that they allow that, and as well as City of Seattle did too. But that contract expired, and we weren't successful on the reprocurement. So we're waiting. Another one's going to come out. So.
John, do you have specific veteran goals, or are they wrapped up into your MWBE goals?
They're generally wrapped up. And he asked, I seen a question come up. They asked which office is for University of Washington. It's this office. For anything we talk about here today, or anything you can reach out to this office and we can provide it, or steer you to our Fort Lewis office. Because they're basically the ones running full bore on the statewide, and we're taking down the Northwest DES.
And I can help you a little bit with the state goal numbers. Those numbers that come from the governor's office are 10% minority, 6% women, 5% veterans, 5% small.
Thank you so much, John. Thanks for your bits of information in there too, Charles.
Thank you.
I don't have any more questions. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next presenter. So next we will have Forma present, and take it away, Eric Lindstrom.
Hello, I'm Eric Lindstrom. I run all of our job order contracting division work for the company. Forma's been around since the mid 80s out of Olympia. We have Olympia and Seattle offices. Job order contracting work ends up being maybe 10% of the total volume that we end up doing every single year. We are primarily work in the public arena for all of our jobs. So the other and the job order contracting amount is about 20 million a year. The other 240 million or so is going to be a combination of design bid build, GCCM, or design build projects. And primarily the majority of those are, like I said, public work and higher education, schools, community colleges, and civic work. So the majority of our larger jobs, to find out what we're bidding on those, that would be visiting our website, which is www.formacc.com. There's a section in there, bidding. It has the current bid lists. Those jobs are usually always posted on like the DJC or having the plans and plan centers. For our job order contracting work, we don't post those on a plan center or public areas because the projects are generally fast in nature, like Charles had mentioned. And those notices will primarily come out from the individual project managers and engineer teams that we have assigned to those contracts. Can you jump to the next slide, please? So here's just kind of an example from the delivery method. If I felt it was important to show this just because this meeting was associated for job order contracting, but there are other opportunities within Forma and the types of work that we've done before. And many times some of the small business firms have started out in job order contracting, doing a project or two if it fits within your wheelhouse or your specialty, and then find out that there's a bid job or a GCCM job or some other job that we have posted, and find opportunities outside of JOC. JOC is kind of wherever the projects end up going. So if you're a Seattle contractor and we have work that runs along the I-5 corridor, we generally try to ask firms to bid work that's within their geographic area. Next slide. So here's generally, if you look at a heat map over the last 10 years, you'll see where the majority of our work ends up being. It's the population bases over the I-5 corridor. On average, we've probably averaged about 7 active contracts per year, executing over 1,500 work orders and over 156 million in JOC work to date. And the majority of these projects are typically end up being in active facilities, and our timelines to do the work is pretty tight, and they don't follow traditional design bid build plans and specs where there is a 1-inch thick binder and a half-inch thick set of plans. Usually it's something pared down a couple pages or two, maybe a performance spec, maybe nothing. They usually always get accompanied with some sort of instruction to bidders and some other supplemental criteria of how the job needs to be bid and where it is and what the walkthrough times need to be to visit a job site. Not every project requires a walkthrough, but being that they are occupied, the drawings and the plans are They're not 100% CD sets. Many times we do recommend construction site visits and walkthroughs to have a clear understanding of what the scope is, and more importantly, how it's going to be accessed and how it's going to be constructed, because the planning around how you're going to do it really will change the way that you're going to formulate how your bid's going to come together and how much time it's going to take. Next slide. So here's just kind of a general dollar volume. We're going to expect to do about 250 million this year. If you look at over the last, since 2015, the JOC revenue is about 20 million bucks a year. But what has been growing is the other bid opportunities. So that's if your projects are smaller in nature or larger in nature, there are other opportunities in there, especially if you're a regional contractor. Say your company's based out of, like Longview, Kelso area, we may end up having an opportunity down there on a larger project as well. Next slide. So here's our current list of job order contracts. I actually forgot one on there. There's actually 11. We have a really small one with Lake Washington School District. They don't do very much volume. It's usually only during the summer timelines. We currently don't have anything active with them, but there is technically 11. The DES is probably the one that does the most volume through us. Like I said, we do about 20 million a year, and about 6 of that will come through DES. I think Charles had mentioned we have the Western Washington region. So that work is from pretty much Bellevue or Bellingham area down to Longview, Kelso area along the corridors right there. Everything that's from Pierce County and south is managed by Lonnie Mason out of our Olympia office, and then our work that's up in the Seattle area is managed by Lori Nichols, with the combination of other project managers. As the work may end up coming in waves, we have majority of our JOC staff is out of our Seattle office to be able to handle those periodic drinks from the fire hose and ebbs and flows. Next slide. So like I had mentioned before, the important things to understand on job order contracting work is it's not a traditional full plan, full bid, full spec. Many times these jobs, even for very high-tech agencies like DES or University of Washington, they may end up being 1 or 2 plans. A walkthrough is going to be important, and it's going to be accompanied by a scope description. It's a little bit hard to see, so I apologize for that. But an instruction to bidders, some detailed plans and notes. We may call out some special criteria that might be important for a subcontractor to bid. Case in point, infection control. If it's expected you're working in a clean environment and your work is going to be doing Div 9 drywall and finishes, and dust and cleanliness is a priority, those criteria will likely determine how and what you need to include in your bid and how you're going to do it cleanly and safely. So, so understanding the work in these cases, it's not only just what's on the print, but how it's going to be able to be built in an occupied facility where us as the contractors or subcontractors are the guest to the public agency. Next slide. So here's another little blow up. This was a this was a example of a lab that we had to do that was occupied with technicians the entire time. We ended up having to divide the project into 4 phases. Overall, if you look at this and you do this whole job over a 1 time period, it probably would have only taken 3 weeks. But due to the phasing requirements that the client required us to do, it ended up being an 8-week-long project. So the in and out, the mob, demob cost for those subcontractors of how you're going to perform the work was really important in understanding a way of putting together the bid. And this particular job was one where the site walkthrough and scheduling that time period, again, it was an active lab. We had to coordinate with the owner of when we could go in there with subcontractors to take a look at the plans and specs to get an understanding of what the job is to successfully bid it. Next slide. Oh, that's not me. Sorry. So what's important to FORMA in soliciting subs from bids is, or subcontractors to bid, is we want trades to bid where their expertise is. We don't typically broker work to GCs. If you are a GC, that doesn't preclude you from doing work. But if you're specialized in framing, that might be an area that you may be able to, do all of the Division 9 work or include the some concrete or foundation work. A site visit on JOC projects is usually important. The timing for those, because we don't usually just get to show up whenever we want to. We have to coordinate those with the owners. So if you can attend the walkthrough, please let us know. And many times we get 1 shot, maybe 2, and then we're expected to turn a proposal around. So the go, no go, are you able to bid? Does it fit within your wheelhouse? Those things are important for us to ensure that we meet those timelines and expectations with the owner for submitting a proposal, getting NTP, getting a start, and closing up the project. The other piece is capacity. So at times we also want to make sure that we're not overloading subcontractors and expecting you to be in too many places at one time. The last thing we want to end up doing is having somebody not be successful on a job and get a bad taste in the mouth for job order contracting or other bid opportunities that are out there. And then we try to pair the work to what your typical volume is. So if your average job is $100,000 subcontract, then bidding on projects that are within that arena is probably going to be looked at from a risk perspective. If it's a $400,000 self-perform or $400,000 scope, that's the largest job that you've ever done. Well, we really want to make sure from a risk perspective and vetting perspective that we don't bite off more than what we can do to do the job successfully. And then lastly, JOC is a unique animal of subcontracting opportunities because none of us JOC contractors really have know what the next work order is going to end up being from the client, and they could all be in like our DES Western Washington region JOC. They could all end up being in north of Everett if a whole bunch of work orders kick loose in that area, and then the Southwest region kind of dries up. So for us, so we really are trying to pair the work order in the region with the appropriate subcontractor. So just because we're not calling may not necessarily mean that there's not opportunity there. It's just there may not be any, there may not be a project that is within your geographic area or is part of the scope that you typically bid. But with all of our other opportunities from job contracting and where the work ends up being, there's good opportunity out there to have these small projects maybe fill in the gap between a other contract delivery methods or other projects that you choose to bid. And that's it.
Eric, we have some questions coming through the Q&A. First off, is our job contractor signatory to union?
We are so Forma is signatory to the union, but our job order contracting work is all publicly bid work. So as long as you're meeting prevailing wage, the prevailing wage requirements, then that is the expectation that you need to meet.
Are bids going to the lowest bidder?
Sometimes, but no, not always. Like I said before, the things that we're wanting to do is make sure that people have the right capacity to do the job and are set up for success. So if a particular project is, well, for example, we did a job for the city of Seattle once, and it required 40 plumbers to be on the job site Saturday and Sunday working overtime and double time. And it precluded some of the other firms that we ended up using because they just didn't have that much, they don't have the manpower. So again, it's pairing the right firm so you're successful with the work. And sometimes that might end up meaning that it's going to cost a little bit more, and it's a risk and a value that we think is the best thing for the project and the best thing for the team. So low bid is it's not always the almighty dollar. It's how's the job, how's the team going to be successful.
Gotcha. A couple more questions. Let's see. So as a document scanning digital imaging service provider for the city of Seattle and other local governments, would there possibly be opportunities for subcontracting for a 20-year veteran-owned small business?
Sure. There are project scanning requirements that probably would go into more of the larger projects that we would end up doing than some of the JOC opportunities. I think that's probably where your expertise may come in. If we think about a $50 million job, those plans and specs and the data upload for some of that stuff is going to be quite a bit more documentation than a job work order that might be 3 pages long.
Wonderful. What is the average turnaround time to provide a bid on a project?
For us to provide a bid to our client, or for us to provide a bid to our clients, a lot of times there's that balance of one, determining when the project team, owner, architect, Forma, has a clear understanding of what the job is and how it's going to be bid. And then, it could be 2 weeks or it could be a couple days. It really just ends up depending on the complexity of that project. And sometimes those timelines are going to be really, really short, and the timeline and it being short is stipulated by our client. Or for like DES, this is going to be a biennium year. So many times we're looking at that June 30th timeline and kind of starting the clock or the schedule and moving backwards of when the job would need to start and how much time we need to bid to get the project completed in their budget cycle.
Gotcha. So that means, so Stephanie, did that answer your question? Oh, here we go. I have lately been finding the turnaround time for bids on JOC estimate has been 3 to 5 days. And that's very difficult for the small businesses.
It can be challenging, and like I said, sometimes those timelines are set by us as the contractor. Many times they are set by the public agency or the user that the agency is representing. Just to use UW for example, or DES, but a community college might have a project that needs to get completed over a spring break timeline, and with the time that we would get the proposal package to price it in order to meet that start and completion date, that might end up being a really, really short window. And that's those opportunities when we're saying what's important to Forma and what we need from our subs is we're going to be straight out open and honest, which is we have a project that might be within your wheelhouse. The caveat is we need to turn a bid around, lickety split. And if you can do it, great. We'd love to see you at the walkthrough. If you can't, we'll have you on for the next opportunity that's within that region. But that generally is one of the main features and benefits of JOC is the speed at which the work can get done, but it certainly can be challenging and create a kind of that no-go of whether or not this is a job that you think might be a good candidate for your firm to take a swing at.
So it sounds like the best way is to get on your subcontractor list to get a heads up as soon as something comes available, with the knowing that there's a possibility that it could be a 3 to 5 day turnaround, or it could be in a longer time to get a bid in, but to get the information as quickly as possible, get on the list. So with that, I did notice, and I'm sorry, Leslie, I'm going to steal this question from you. The invitation to subcontract form from your website, who do they send that to?
That we have it's an email address that's jock@formacc. That basically goes into all of our project managers.
Okay. I think I spelled that right. joc@formacc.com.
Yep. Okay. And the information that we look for is if you have a standard brochure that has what your company does, what your standard project volumes are, what your EMR looks like. Our form is going to end up having much of the same stuff that Centennial's form included. But what we primarily are looking out of that information is just to ensure that we give you the right opportunities that are work that you specialize in. And then from the vetting process of making sure that you're not biting off too much that you can chew or have an opportunity to not succeed.
Gotcha. And this question goes, I think, to everybody. What companies are you looking for? Do you know off the top of your head what specific subcontractors you're looking for, such as asphalt construction? Do you do any management development, the printing, digital imaging contractor? So with 11 JOC contracts, I would think it'd be difficult to know off the top of your head what you're in need of at the moment. Would that
pretty much yes to all those. Our work is the job order contracting work a lot of times is TI sort of work or civil work or facilities upgrade systems. So MEP type work. The geographic region that it ends up being a lot of times is the important piece. So if you're Olympia contractor, we're not going to ask you to go up to Bellingham and work at Bellingham Technical College. But I may need a mechanical contractor that's up there. So pretty much it's the standard trades of demo through electrical. And then the region that you prefer to kind of keep your operations in is the important piece. I will say, from generally speaking, probably the harder scope for us to get on projects is that that Division 9 carpentry, drywall sort of specialty trade.
Do you do any leadership management training as part of these subcontracts, or as subcontracts in general for your company?
Yes, we've brought some firms under our wing before, put them through the UW Foster School of Business. All of our, probably the biggest area that impact ends up happening is with our our superintendents. So all of our superintendents are through the union and have came up through the trades. So when they're out on the job site, that working hand in hand, the experience that they've built over 30 years in the field of safe ways to do the work, scheduling, those are some of the mentoring capacities and ways that I think the emerging small businesses that really get provide some of that opportunity. And if our superintendent's going to be on the job site and there's a question about the proper way of hanging a specialty door or frame, we have one opportunity to get that in. We're going to make sure that that we are there to help that subcontractor along through whatever that process ends up being.
Gotcha. And just to clarify, these are prevailing wage jobs because they are state projects.
That's correct.
And then goals or requirements for suppliers. Is it kind of job specific what your goals are?
Each agency has similar and different goals. There's some of them have a little bit higher. I think Centennial touched on this with like DES. We're following WEBS and OMWBE requirements. For some of the other public agencies, they may open up the self-certification opportunities, or like Sound Transit and King County, they have their, it's SCS. I think it stands for subcontractor. I always forget what that one stands for.
Yeah, me too.
But each one has its own sort of goal, and then we're looking at those projects and trying to find opportunity. Touching on something that Charles said about webs and making sure that you're in those directories. If we have projects that are in, kind of some of the far regions of the state, and we're looking for a firm that's, let's just say we're up in Bellingham or we're up in Blaine. We can do searches on those by zip code, by location, and find firms that are in those geographic areas. And that's how sometimes we end up providing some of that outreach to those firms out there. So if you are able to go on and put your information in those sites, that actually helps all of us general contractors to search you out and find what it is that you specialize in, and contact you with those opportunities. And if you haven't filled out any of the qualifications forms with us before, and we contact you directly, we can work that stuff out over the phone, or have that be something that maybe gets included within your your bid or your walkthrough.
Charles, go ahead.
If I can add very quickly, DES requires inclusion plans from each of our dock contractors. And so those inclusion plans tell us what the contractor anticipates their participation rate will be for the duration of the contract. So right now, I think we're averaging around 30% with all of them. So that's how the goals are looked at DES, based on what those contractors tell us they think they can achieve.
Thank you for that. A specific question for you, Eric. What is experience modification rate on your form?
That's your EMR. So every construction company is going to have an EMR, and I forget exactly how the EMR is calculated. My safety director could tell you exactly how that is, but I believe it's something about hours and recordable incidents. And for construction companies, that's important because the lower your EMR rates are, the less your insurance companies charge you for insurance. So from a risk standpoint, if you have a really high EMR that's saying that there's been a lot of safety incidents on your project, if it's a high risk project for us, we may end up looking at a different firm. That might be a perfect example of going with the second bidder on a project if and us choosing to spend more money to gain more experience from one sub. So it's not always about the low bid. It's the big picture.
So, Eric, this is Leslie. I just have a couple really quick questions. The first one is from Roxanne Bradshaw, and she wants to know if there's any Native American certifications for women or any set-asides for Native American women regarding certifications. And as far as I know, the only federal certifications are under the 8A program, and it does not delineate between Native American or African American. It's all classified as 8A. Under OMWBE, it is also a parallel scenario that you are a minority woman business enterprise or a minority business enterprise, and they don't distinguish between Native American or African American or Asian American, Hawaiian. But have you ever, or have any of our panelists ever come across any set-asides for Native Americans?
No, we have on non-JOC projects before when we've done some work for the local tribal facilities, where that would be a requirement in their contract, but not to my knowledge on any JOC work.
Yeah, us as well. We've not run into that under the Job Order Contractor. So yeah, it'd be just based under the women-owned business status.
Okay, and then last question for Eric. Can you give us your phone number and your web address we have, but can you just give us your phone number for contacting?
Yeah, it's 503. I mean, I'm sorry, gosh, wrong number. It's 360-754-5788.
Thank you.
And then all of our email addresses. So I didn't put the email addresses in the JOC contract list, but it had the project managers associated with it. And so our email addresses are first name, first initial of last name @formacc.com. So
Okay,
it's pretty straightforward to figure out how, if you know the person's name, of getting an email address.
okay. All right, we'll get that in the chat and send that on to our panelists. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Eric, for all that valuable information. So now we're going to turn it over to Saber, and we have John, Peggy, and Ginger speaking with us today.
Good afternoon, all. Thank you for having us. My name is John Pilata. I am the Government Division Contract Division Manager. I also have along with me one of my project managers, Peggy Togioka, as well as our project coordinator, Ginger Gigax. And to start out with where the company started. Company started out in the mid-90s, started out as a women-owned company. We still maintain a women-owned certifications. So we do know what the struggles look like for the smaller subcontractors, diversity subcontractors, what it looks like to get, to get in there and get those opportunities. So it's really close to our heart. It's one of the things that we truly believe in is outreach and bring in subcontractors. With that said, we do like to bring in the right subcontractor for the right job, understanding that those subcontractors are also a collaborative part of our scoping, as well as part of our coordinations for the project. It's a big part of what we do is scoping a project. As others have alluded to, is we don't typically get a bid package, for a job project. We don't get a set of specifications. Lots of these will come with our, basically we're going to find out what the intent of the project is. We're going to meet with the client, end user, as well as the project manager for the state. And we'll define what the scope looks like from there. Generally, we do like to break the scopes down to smaller work packages. Basically, we want to spread the wealth across the board, make sure that all the subcontractors are getting even opportunities. We really generally don't like to break up, or we don't like to have one subcontractor subcontracting out to lower tier subcontractors. We really try to keep it smaller work packages, make it a little bit easier for those smaller subcontractors to bid our work and be successful. We do, as well as the others, we still need meet the same criteria as far as good standing with L&I, a good EMR rate, a reasonable EMR rate. Obviously, if the EMR rate is high, not only does it tell us that your costs are high insurance-wise, but it also tells us that you're a repeat offender, right? And so we have to be careful for that as far as recordable incidents. So as risk management for us, because it helps also if your EMR rate and you're recordable on our projects, our EMR goes up. One of the things that we're very proud of for Sabre is that we have a very low EMR rate, especially given that some of our self-performance is civil and petroleum-based projects, which are very high-risk projects. So we take a lot of pride in our EMR rate and our safety qualifications, as well as our awards as well. We do as far as mentoring our subcontractors, we do like to bring the subcontractors into the office, help them get through what does it look like to do a job contract? How do I get signed up? What does it take to be on your project? A lot of our subcontractors, small subcontractors, are just breaking into the government sector of work, whether it's municipalities, federal, non-federal. We like to bring them to the office, get them started, help them with making sure they've got all the documentation filled out correctly, make sure that they've got safety plans. We'll share our safety plans. We'll help you guys get started, as well as helping you through any education you need for webs, getting your certified payrolls in. We like to provide that service. Again, it's really to help those smaller subcontractors be successful on our projects. Again, we do like to bring in the right subcontractors for the right work package, and we do like to bring in the right subcontractor geographically as well. Obviously, a subcontractor from Vancouver can't compete with a company from Tacoma, right? So with that, what I'd like to do is kind of turn it over to Peggy and Ginger to talk about what some of our opportunities look like and what types of subcontractors that we do look for successful projects.
So hi everybody, my name is Peggy. I'm one of the project managers here at Sabre, and I work primarily on job contracts here at Sabre Contractors. What's important to me as a PM and an estimator is having that open communication and starting to look at the project from a constructability standpoint. I want to get inside your head. I want to talk through like what you see as the risks on the project and kind of get your understanding and draw on your expertise as part of a service that we provide the client. Some of the projects, just to kind of give you an example of what we're looking for, we have a few that I'd like to highlight. We have a SS-10 house demolition, which includes a large demolition package as well as hazardous material. We have a design build ADA bathroom remodel that we're doing up north. That is a lot of TI. We also engineering and design services are required for that piece. We have an early warning system here in the city of Tacoma, and that includes communication, access control, and security requirements, as well as a little bit of design for that also, integration and programming. And we also have landscaping and restroom improvements at the Tacoma Mall Transit Center, which is, of course, a little bit of civil and a little bit of TI, and it's an all-encompassing, just a really good service and a good example project of kind of the diversity of the scopes that we are looking for here at Sabre in our JOC program. And I think if we can save questions for later, but I'll hand it off to Ginger to kind of round us out a little bit. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Ginger Gigax. I am project coordinator here for the JOC division. So what I mainly do is I assist the project managers in the beginning, help them find the trades they need when they receive a work order package from DES. So I will go in and search webs. I'm always adding to our database we have here, but if I am not finding what I'm looking for, I will search webs, I will search the OMWB site, and just help the project managers be able to get the right trades and certified subcontractors out to the project site. And so then when I kind of come into the picture again is at the time of we sign you up on contract. So if contracts are new for you, just understanding the interpretation of a contract. If you have never filed a prevailing wage intent and affidavit, just walk you through it. How to file your certified payrolls, anything like that. I would be one that I could help you walk through everything, because I know seems like there's a lot of paperwork to do a prevailing wage job, but it's very simple once you've really done it the first time. So I just want to let you know that we're not going to throw a packet of paper at you and expect you to get it all back to us and then complete the work. I will be here to assist you with any questions you had. Even right now, what Peggy and I are doing an outreach, and we are trying to find new subcontractors that we have not worked with in the past. And we are wanting to set up a meet and greet, just me, Peggy, and you, and, talk through, let you know a little bit more about Sabre, about JOC, learn about your company. And then you can just really, if you could have just a one-on-one chat conversation right there, before actually you got out to do a site walk for a project. So you can feel a little bit more comfortable kind of seeing who we are and kind of how the JOC program works. So I see my contact information is up there. I would love for all of you to actually contact me directly. I would love to see if you're actually in our database already. If not, I will send you a subcontractor qualification form. Make sure you get into our database. And here within Sabre, we have other divisions. We have a new building, we have a petroleum division, and we also have a federal division. So once you're in our database, all divisions have access to your information, and we all kind of share. We may go to another division and say, hey, do you have a good so-and-so? We're really looking for somebody. So we all kind of share within the company. So I just want to make sure you guys are all in the database here, so when it does come time, you're right there. We have all your contact information, and hopefully we've already had a virtual chat that we know faces and we know exactly who to call. And that's all I've got. So I think we're probably ready for any questions.
Well, Mari wants to toot your horn a little bit. She says she's worked with Sabre on several projects and that Sabre is great to work with and the subs don't have to be afraid to be taken advantage of and that you're really great to work with. She's had a great experience working with you. Mari, if you want to unmute and add any more of your 2 cents to working with Sabre, you are welcome to.
Hi guys, and yes, I've worked with Sabre on several projects and I have nothing but good things to say about them. They come alongside you. There's some things that I wasn't aware of or not knowledgeable about, and they did step up and help me in all those areas. And my employees, the guys working that are helping us keep our projects going. Good collaborative work is what we've experienced with them. So I really appreciate that as a small minority, veteran, woman-owned company.
There you go. That's awesome.
Thank you, Mari.
Thank you, Mary. All right, a quick question. What is considered a high EMR?
A high EMR is, EMR of 1 is considered really a high EMR. It's where you really start looking at the risk.
Okay.
We like to keep them well below 1.
Wonderful. Leslie, do you have any questions to share?
Yes, Nathan Turner would like to know if you have a list of all your JLC contracts that you're currently working on or coming down the pipe.
We have, well, we don't have the list here, but we've got multiple federal contracts, USPS, a DOD contract. We've got DES contract, we've got City of Bellevue contract. We're currently working with City of Tukwila as well as City of Lakewood.
It is on that last page of the slide. It's up. I don't know if you guys can see it.
Yeah.
It's up there, over there. Okay.
Yeah, it is on our last page.
Those are some of those may not be some of our, one of them looking at right now is not one of our recent or current clients. But we also have Pierce Transit as well.
Okay, thank you. We have just a couple other little questions. One going back to the EMR. What if you are a new company and the EMR has not changed since inception?
Oh, we understand that. Again, it really is performance based. Obviously, if there's other criteria to take into consideration. It's a newer company. There's no recordable incidents. Then yeah, obviously, if you're a company that's been in business for 6, 8 years and you've got a high EMR, well, that tells me a different story than a company that's been in business with a higher EMR only because of hours work and experience factor.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And from Rhonda Tilford again, what is the best way to introduce your somebody's company to Sabre?
So we have multiple ways. Ginger is usually our primary go-to, but there's a couple other ways. We do have a bidding portal in our website at sabre.com. We also have saberinfo.com, which is also another way. We receive a lot of emails through that portal for subcontractors looking to be on our bid list. And then lots of times, like I said, we'll do outreach on our side, but calling Ginger, emailing myself, emailing Peggy and our project managers. I think we've got that information up on the first page there. So there's multiple ways we're very accessible.
Thank you.
I have a question. How is Sabre doing on fulfilling their goals for WIMBY?
We feel we could always do better. I think we're doing a good job on it. But yeah, we feel like we can do better, and that's why we do provide continuous outreach.
That's all the questions I have in the Q&A.
Me too.
Thank you all.
Thank you guys so much for your presentation. I think we're sharing the slide deck at the end, so if you guys need Ginger's contact information, you guys will receive that after we're done today. So our next JOC speaker is going to be Jim Anderson from Burton.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, my colleagues did such an excellent job of presenting all the information about JOC. It's a good thing mine's kind of short and sweet, but truly everything they covered, I think I would agree to, as far as the way JOC is conducted, the kind of projects we do, the qualifications for our subcontractors, very, very similar. And but I'll also tell you some more specifics about the company. So I'm the JOC program manager for Burton. I've been with the company for almost 17 years now. The company's been around since 1994, and we started serving federal and state agencies in 1997. Our owner, Jerry Burton, is still active in the company. He started as a home builder, and then got in. Because he's a minority, got into the federal 8A program in 1997. So we restructured at that point and became Burton Construction Incorporated. So we're doing a lot of federal projects since then. Our JOC program began in 2004. Our first JOC contract with Spokane schools. So yeah, we're located in Spokane, but we have offices elsewhere, which I'll get to here in a moment. Our current JOC contracts include, as Charles mentioned earlier, we have 2 contracts with the Washington State Department of Enterprise Services. One is for Eastern Washington and one is for the state. We do probably on those two contracts combined, we do $10 to $12 million a year in revenue. So those are by far our biggest contracts, and our most fun ones too, I might say, Charles. So anyway, yeah, we do really enjoy working with DES, and they've got they've got JOC figured out as far as their attitude and approach to how projects are done. Most of our customers are great, but not everybody gets it as well as DES does. Other contracts are, like I mentioned, Spokane schools. We've had that one almost continuously since 2004. We have a contract with City of Everett, Snohomish County, Seattle Housing Authority, and we're recently awarded on the federal side, really the first big federal contract we've had with JOC is with the GSA Region 10, and we were awarded 3 zones. Zone 1 is Eastern Washington and Idaho. Zone 2 is Western Oregon, and Zone 3 is Western Washington. So that one's just kind of getting kicked off, and we're excited about that one as well. So as some of the other firms mentioned, we do more than just JOC. Probably half of what we do is JOC, 16 million a year or so. And then the other half of what we do is other federal work. Most of that is through MATOC and SATOC, those types of contracts. We do a lot of work with the Veterans Administration, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, other larger federal agencies. So yeah, so I've been with them, like I said, for 17 years now. It's a very good company to work for, either as an employee or as a subcontractor. At least that's my unbiased opinion. So yeah, so we're home offices here in Spokane. We have an office in Tukwila where we have 5 project managers, and the main guy over there is named Will Duckett, and he'd be a contact over there. We have an office in Boise, which probably wouldn't apply to anybody in our meeting today. And we also have a gentleman working out of Pasco home office. He runs all of our projects in the Columbia Basin. So a lot of work with Walla Walla Community College, other customers for DES through that area. Like I said, our sub qualifications are very similar to what my colleagues have already mentioned. Just the basics would be that you need to know that you'll need to file intents and affidavits, certified payroll. B2G Now is a website that you'll need to put information on, and there's L&I has a kind of a training you have to go through if you're new to that system. A lot of our subs have done it before, so they're grandfathered in. But just because I say you need to understand, you'll need to do that, doesn't mean you have to know how to do all of that. We have, as others have mentioned also, we are more than happy to help our subcontractors through that process. And our contract administrator's name is Kathy Clark, and she's excellent at walking our subs through that process and answer your questions. And it really isn't that difficult once you like others have said also, once you do it a time or two, it's really not so bad. Yeah, we have a team approach. I think that's probably true for all of the jocks represented here today. You know, jock is really more of a mindset. I think it's very much a partnering approach. It's, in my opinion, it's quite different than your typical design, bid, build process. You know, we don't have those, most of the time don't have detailed drawings and specs and those big binders and all that. So it's much more dependent on a relationship. It's much more dependent on good communication. So, you know, we would hope our subs would understand that and become part of that team. You know, we're looking for subcontractors who are, you know, flexible and responsive, professional, safe, you know, fair pricing. We're very much believe in open and honest communication that's true for between us and our customers, as well as between us and our subcontractors. Yes, that's a very important part of jock. So it is a different mindset, but in my opinion, it's a lot more fun than the more traditional types of projects. We do every type of project you can imagine. All, you know, every CSI division. It is hard to tell what's coming very far in the future. Like Eric mentioned, these come pretty quickly, and we have to be responsive to our customers and turn these around pretty quick. That's my contact information on the bottom, and our website is the burtonconstruction.net. And you can look on our website to download a subcontractor qualification form. You can email that to me, or you can email it to our general email inbox would be bids, just BIDS, bids at burtonconstruction.net. And then we have people who get that to me, you know, off of that website. Let's look at my notes here if there's anything else I didn't cover. Yeah, like I said, I don't want to be repetitive. A lot of what we do is very similar, but I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody has.
So Jim, this is Leslie. Good to see you. It's been a while.
Good to see you too, Leslie.
We have a question from Chris Catherines, and Chris wants to know what the phone number is for your Pasco contact, because they're actually located down in Tri-Cities.
Oh, okay. His name is Scott Sumori, and let's see. I can. Yeah, I'll tell you what. If you email or call me, I'll get that to you without. I don't want to take time right now to find that. Okay. But I'd be happy to get that to you. He's an excellent guide.
Okay. Well, we'll get that after the meeting, and we'll get that sent to Chris. Thank you.
Okay, you bet.
So there's no more questions here in the chat. And oh wait, Rhonda just posted one. She says, "Hi Jim, do you have any projects that have immediate needs within 30 days?"
Yes. Yeah, I don't have a list right in front of me, but we have new projects coming on a fairly continual basis. But Rhonda, if you email me and tell me more about yourself and what kind of trade you want to be involved in, I can certainly connect you with the right project manager on any upcoming projects. I like Ginger's idea with the that kind of meet and greet type thing. I'm going to steal that idea from you, Ginger, and make that available to anybody that would like to just have a little Zoom meeting with me one-on-one to just learn more about your company. And I could bring in our other project managers depending on what part of the state you're working in. So it really is about relationship. We want to build those relationships with more and more subcontractors, because that's really what it's about.
Does Burton have a procurement portal that people could register in, much like some of the other JOCs on here, or is it more of a relationship type situation?
Yeah, we're not quite that high tech. We do the website has that the sub qualification form you can get to us. We do have a portal for our bigger jobs. There's, a lot of the bid docs and stuff are on available through our website. But as Eric mentioned, the job projects are so fast and furious. It'd just be, keeping them updated on the website would be difficult. So.
It sounds like for everyone involved, the best next step is to reach out to the 4 contractors, set up a meeting, fill out your forms, get on your subcontractor list to move forward with working with you, because that's the best next step for our participants today. Yeah.
I would agree. Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Wonderful.
All right. Thank you. If there aren't any more questions, Marnie, did another one come through? I see the Q&A box just lit up.
Angelica just wanted to say hi and thanks for having her, and she'll get the subcontractor form in.
That's good. Well, Jim, thank you so much for coming, and thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you guys doing this. This has been really good.
Yeah, absolutely. Leslie, are you ready for the next section, or?
Oh, sure. Sure. We're going to wrap this up a little bit, but before we go, we want to pass along what PTAC's mission is. PTAC has been in Washington State for a long time, and our goal is to maximize the number of capable Washington State companies participate in the government marketplace. And this is, in order to do this, we provide no-cost one-on-one counseling, workshops, webinars. We assist with local bids, and we help interpret solicitations, registration, certifications, and marketing to the government. We also have a program called the Electronic Bid Match Service. We have a 30-day free trial, and then it's $135 a year. And that gets you an email once a day or once a week, depending on your criteria, based off your NAICS codes at the federal level. And Alicia and Marnie, does this also include Washington State opportunities in the bid match now?
State,
Yes.
local, and federal level, yes.
Okay. And then we also do post-award assistance. So, just remember, if you have any questions, always contact your local PTAC first. And we are funded in part through a cooperative agreement with the Defense Logistics Agency, part of the Department of Defense budget. So keep that in mind. And on our next slide, we actually have all the contact information. This is recently updated. If you go to washingtonptac.org, you can find our locations. And we have a couple new individuals on this slide that may or may not be on the website yet. But we have 8 regions, and we cover a lot of territory. Alicia covers all of Eastern Washington, everything in red. And Marnie is down in Pierce County and a little bit of King County. She's a versatile PTAC. She covers a lot of the empty spots. And then I was recently brought on board to help out with Region 1, which is the Olympic Peninsula and the Kitsap area. So if you if you have any questions, be sure to contact us, off of this slide, and we'll get this out to you, at the end of the event today. So, and with that, we have, just in closing, we want to thank each of our panelists and all the participants. And when we send out the slide deck, it'll be a PDF format that has clickable links in it. And, we'll include all the other information that you might need. And we want to thank you for attending, and we hope everyone has a wonderful and safe holiday season. And if there's any last minute questions on the next slide, we'll be around for a little bit if you have any additional questions.
I want to call out Lisa Langerstrom. She's on too. She's our PTACer she does the northern I-5 corridor. So Bellingham, Blaine, Snohomish.
Hello, you all. Thank you for joining. This has been great.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
So
everyone.
big thank you to Charles, the Department of Enterprise Services, Centennial, Sabre, Burton, Forma. We couldn't have done this without you guys. Thank you.